Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Believe in Duke podcast. I'm Steve Wiseman, the Duke beat writer for the Raleigh News and Observer, joined as always by the show's co-host Shelden Williams. Shelden, we have this is kind of an emergency podcast. We're doing it the day after the Duke Virginia game, Sunday morning. We're posting this a day earlier than usual,
Right.
because an emergency thing happened last night. A very strange thing happened in the Duke UVA game. I think people have heard by now. Kyle Filipowski was fouled at the end of regulation. A foul was called. The officials looked at the replay monitor and decided a foul and didn't happen, which you're not allowed to do. But I guess they tried to say that like time expired or whatever. Come to find out, the ACC later admitted Kyle Filipowski should have been at the line in a tie game, 58 all, with less than a second on the clock, with two free throws that would have given Duke a win. It ended up Duke lost 69-62 in overtime. There's a lot of anger, confusion in the Duke locker room. Anyway, just a lot to break down from that game. Shelden, just initially, what were your thoughts on the play, and what were you're watching on TV? I was in the arena, so what were you hearing and seeing when that was going on?
Yeah. Actually, before I go into my spiel, go ahead and knock out our ad. So we can go ahead and get that out the way.
Yes.
And then I'll go into my spiel.
Yes. Remind everybody, that's a good point, Sheldon. Our podcast is sponsored by Bet Online. There's a big football game this afternoon in the NFL. If people want to get a wager down on that, this would be the time to do it. And the place to do it, Bet Online is the number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL playoffs, pro and college basketball, UFC, MMA, and more. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at Bet Online, with live betting options, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. Bet Online is truly the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite leagues and events. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure you use the promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, to receive your rewards. BetOnline.ag, where the game starts. Shelden, the floor is yours. What do you think?
So I've had a lot of time to think about this, and there was different ways I want to go about it. Obviously, as the game kind of got further and further away from me, I had more and more time to think about how I was going to approach this. But at the end of the day, it was a very horrible decision to make a bad call. And on top of that, I get it, live action, you're going to have bad calls. But the fact that they actually went back into the screen and saw the play happening, and they see the clock, Flip has the ball with 0.2, 0.3 seconds left with the foul. So clearly the foul happened before the shot went off. And
Right.
even with that being said, it kind of looked like when they threw the bounce pass, the clock kind of started a little bit. So
I noticed that too. Yes.
Yeah. So it seemed like we was getting kind of screwed on both ends. And the fact that remains that we had a chance to put ourselves in positions to win that game, despite having 18 turnovers, shooting ourselves in the foot. We fought. Our defense played well. Obviously, we had a few slip ups down the end on defensive end, but the fact that we actually we put ourselves in position to win that game, and it's very disappointing that it was taken from us, especially on a road win. I mean, on a road where we should have won at UVA, which is a very tough place to play anyway. So for our young team to have this setback, knockdown, whatever you want to call it, it's going to hurt. It's going to sting. And I'm hoping that this kind of fuels this young team, into the next level, because this right here, for the fact that a 4:00 game and ACC didn't come out until 11:30 at nighttime talking about, oh yeah, they messed up. We all knew that. We all knew that.
Yeah. we knew it in real time, kind of. Right. I remember I'm sitting there like, well, surely he's going to shoot 2 free throws, because it happened before the time went out. And that was the worst thing I thought was. I mean, the easy development. Then I don't know what was going to happen from there, but like he got fouled, and I mean, there's a lot of contact. They called the foul on I'm sorry, the guy Ryan Dunn, the number 13, the guy that came in, the second guy that came in. Beekman blocked it. Dunn came in and got him with the body is what they determined. That's what the official Tim Clockerty called the foul on. But this team, this would have been such a signature win for this team. Yes. And for all they've been through, especially, they played so poorly at Miami on Monday, right? And they ended up with it. They had 4 more turnovers in overtime. They ended up with 22 turnovers. It was a season high. So that's terrible. And that didn't put yourself in position to win. But despite that, they were in position to win. And that locker room I went into, myself and another reporter went and talked to Flip. And he's usually very effusive, very quotable, very honest in his thoughts. He was so despondent. He was given like 3-4 word answers. And that tells you how this was riding on his mind. First of all, he didn't score in the game at all. He admits he had a bad game. He didn't play well, right?
Right.
But even then, they executed that play at the end so well.
Yes.
Yeah.
No joke. I mean, it was kind of almost a full circle moment. And it's funny because Coach K used to always talk about, the basketball guys, you play the right way, things gonna come back to you. And he was still playing the right way. Obviously, he shot 6 shots. He was over 6. He was frustrated. Visually, you can see that he was frustrated and playing the game, but yet he was still out there. And the fact that he had, which was a great end of the game play call by John Shire to call that play where he got, backdoor. Yep. And it came back to Flip to win the game. It was like the basketball guys saying, like, hey, it's going to come full circle. This is your time. And I was waiting for that. And I was waiting for that. And I was hoping that for him because I know how it is to have a bad game and everything doesn't seem to go right. And all of a sudden you get something positive before the game ends and I can go back home and lay my head down a little bit easier than what happened last night. And I was hoping that for him, but unfortunately that didn't happen.
No, he got robbed of it. I mean, let's face it, that's exactly, there's no other word to use besides that. Yeah. And Shire said in the post game, one of the many things he said was he was so confident Flip was going to make those free throws if he got the chance, because remember he made those 2 at BC last month with 12 seconds to go to give him a 1-point win. They were down by a point. He had to make both of them to win the game, and he did it. So, and also, yes, you're exactly right. Like, and that's something else John said was, as poorly as Flip had played, he thought if I just get him in position, he's going to make a play, because I kept waiting for him to make a play. And we've seen that through the year where he'll have a bad first half or a bad stretch, and then he'll, come on in the second half. He usually doesn't let it get him down. He usually keeps playing. And that's exactly what he did. He kept playing. And, he made that backdoor cut. Tyrese bounced the ball. And by the way, you mentioned that about the clock starting. The clock started when the ball hit the court. Not when Flip touched it, right? Which correct. Is not
correct. Not right.
Another mistake.
Yeah, not right. Yeah.
And Tyrese on him, great for throwing the bounce pass, right? That bought more time.
Yeah, it definitely did. I mean, like the whole play was executed perfectly. Like I said, it was a great end of the game call by John Shire, for him to kind of have him out on the 3-point line and slip back door and, Proctor seeing that nice leading bounce pass. You couldn't draw it up better. That was perfect. Like basketball wise, nothing better than that. But the fact that we are working against the clock people, the referees, and also playing in a tough environment, like everything's working against us. And we still had a chance to put ourselves in position to win the game. And we did put ourselves in position to win the game. Unfortunately, those things that were going against us wind up, screwing us at the end.
Yeah. And so now I wonder, the ACC did not announce any discipline against the officials. They just said they addressed it with them. I have to believe there's some sort of sanction. As this is just Sunday as we're taking this, I'm sure there's going to be more reporting on my part and others to try to unearth what discipline they did. It kind of reminds me, the football, the Duke Miami football game with all the laterals. If you remember that was 2015, right?
Right.
And those officials got suspended. And the lead official did not work another Duke game until David Cutcliffe was gone. He worked a game this year. He was back at Wallace Wade this year for the first time with Mike Elko there. So not to get too much football into this, but that's an example of the ACC saying, okay, like we know we screwed you and we're going to keep this. We're going to keep you separated. We're not going to let him work a game for a while. I wonder if these three officials will work another Duke game this year, or if they'll be, kept away, or what they'll do. Because I'm going to be watching for that one thing. Because if they walk into Cameron, can you imagine if Tim Clougherty walks into Cameron?
Right. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, I don't know the extent of how things like that kind of work. I know people get fined, people get suspended a game, but I'm not sure exactly how that whole thing, whole process works. But the fact that we are even in this process, that's the crazy part anyway. But unfortunately, we have to learn from this. We have to take some things that we need to take from this. I mean, just going back through the game, I mean, our defense played pretty well for most of the game. At one point we had Roach. Roach was pretty much beating the team by himself. And then, in the first half, it's like he had 12 points. He had 12 the first 14 points. Roach was, keeping himself floating there and every play. And the fact that we are going out there playing against a really tough team that uses the clock well, that doesn't, do too many transition plays, we're still shooting the ball better than them from three. That helped us out. I mean, Granderson, I tweeted out like, hey, where have this been all year?
Yeah.
I mean, I've been waiting for this. Like they said that you're a 3-point shooter at 40%. I've been waiting for this. I mean, everything was working. Like, all right, Proctor starts hitting up. He had a back-to-back threes, and then Jeremy gets in foul trouble, and I'm like, oh man, what's going to happen? And then Proctor comes down, hits a mid-range jump shot. Proctor's coming down. He comes and hits Whitehead back-to-back threes. I'm like, hey, all right, this is it. This is it. Like we're getting going. We're getting going. Like we all, kind of find our niche. And then, unfortunately, Roach fouls out, and that kind of hurt us, especially in overtime. But it's just the fact that we saw it coming. Like we just see these steps right here. It's like, okay, another piece added, and all of a sudden we have a full offensive, repertoire going on, and it's just right there. Like we see it. It's like boom. I'm looking at it right there, and then just to have it taken away, it doesn't sit well.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. This team has to turn the corner. That's a home game with Notre Dame Tuesday. First of all, I think it's good they're playing at home. That's going to help. Secondly, Notre Dame's one of the worst teams in the league right now. They're kind of playing out the string under Bray. So that's probably a good sign. I remember, just one more time back to the football thing, that team had to go to Carolina the very next Saturday, and they just got destroyed. They just weren't, they weren't in the game. They were still thinking about getting screwed out of that win the week before. Anyway, so I don't think that's going to happen. To this team, they're playing at home. It's not a rivalry game. It's Notre Dame. They need to. And I will say, Jeremy, as a team captain in the locker room, was very quick to say, we put the game in position for the officials to take it from us, right? We didn't take care of enough business to have fewer turnovers. Could have had more of a lead. Wouldn't have come down to that play at the end. So that's that shows leadership. If whether he truly believes that or not, who knows? But he put that forward, and I think he's going to take that message to the team because they do have to turn the corner. But your points are great too about we finally saw a more dynamic offense without Flip, with zero contribution from Flip.
Exactly. So that's what I was so impressed. I was like, okay, we had a player, Whitehead, being out for so long. Yes. And he comes in and it's almost like he never missed a beat. Like he was right back where he left off. And then he scored all those points in the second half, but he got in rhythm and he felt okay. And then we had Granderson, he hits 1-3. All right, cool. He hits another, kind of mid-range shot. All right, cool. And then he hits a big tying 3 in the corner. I'm like, great. Like, we are waiting for this. Thank you. Proctor, he grew up a little bit too. Like, he took ownership of when Jeremy Roach was in foul trouble. Yep. I'm still able to come out and I'm gonna lead a team. I'm gonna do the same Jeremy Roach mid-range jump shot, by the free throw line. I'm gonna go ahead and get in the paint. I'm gonna kick it out. I'm gonna find guys, and that's what he was doing. So we've seen all these different pieces without our star, scoring the basketball. I'm like, we are becoming a team that's just not Flip. We are a whole team. And then these are the steps in the process I'm looking at. And I'm like, boom, we got it against a top 10 team. This is us. And then, unfortunately, that's what happens when you don't. I agree with Jimmy Roche. We put ourselves in position for them to take it. But the fact is, they still took it.
Yes, you can't forget that.
Yeah.
But that all those points are very valid. This team grew this week from the
Yes.
Miami performance to Saturday, and moral victories, whatever. We're just analyzing what we saw, right?
Right. Right.
They grew. They're a better team for going through this week than they were before it. I think Proctor is really taking huge steps that will help them in March if they can continue this growth track. They're better now than they were in January,
Yeah,
I think.
Right.
Whitehead is becoming. It looks like we worried how he'd come back from the injury or whatever. He's going to be okay.
Yeah.
He played 20. I'm looking at the stat. 25 minutes.
He was supposed to play 15. But,
Yes,
but we needed him.
Yes, John said I didn't want to play him that much, but boy, you can see how he probably could have come back a couple games before now, right? But they wanted to make sure he was in really good shape, and this is where it paid off.
Yeah,
because he was able to play 25 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I said the same thing. I'm like, the first few minutes, and especially in the first half, it's always like, when you come back from injury, you kind of second guessing, trying to feel your way into it. You're not being yourself. You're not, fully engaged in the game. Then it seemed like second half, which I'm not understanding why we came out kind of flat in the second half. We wasn't matching their energy. They came on a little bit of a run in the end of the first half, and then they took over in the second half, and all of a sudden we had to call that first time out because we came out sluggish. Then all of a sudden it seemed like Whitehead said, "I can do this. Let's just play." And then all of a sudden you start seeing the little turnaround fadeaway jump shot he did in around the elbow area, and then the back-to-back threes. Even it was early in the game where he went for a dunk, which I like the aggressiveness, but at that time, Mitchell and I think Roach, they all kind of got a little bit too aggressive. And Virginia is a good defensive team, and they saw that, and they took about at least 5-6 charges against us, last game and everything. So I'm glad that I'm watching them being aggressive, but also you got to be a little bit smarter too with that too. But that comes with more maturity, especially in a big game like that.
Yeah, I remember the play you're talking about with Whitehead, where he was a little bit far out to try that dunk, but he was feeling. That tells you how good he's feeling. He's like, okay,
right,
I'm gonna do this. Who else had an impressive dunk on a drive down the lane? Proctor. Remember that dunk he had where he got loose in the middle?
Yeah. It surprised me too. I'm like,
whoa, where'd that come from?
Oh, all right.
You got that in the holster. Okay.
Okay, all right.
You go, young man. All right. You got it.
Yeah.
So that's where Duke has to go from here. Notre Dame on Tuesday. They got to get past this. I'm sure, they're going to do their best. I mean, the coaches are going to tell them, got to forget about that. They got to take the good from the way they played, and continue that fight. The turnovers need to be addressed. Obviously, 22 against Miami.
Yes. Yeah.
Or 21 against Miami, 22 against Virginia. Again, you're on the road against 2 ranked teams. So some of that's going to happen. That's excessive.
Yeah. It definitely is. I mean, I know we have a young team, but we're late in the year now. Those situations have to be tamed and kind of tuned down. Like, I understand beginning of the year having that many turnovers, but this is now deep in the ACC play. You can't have consistent games like that and expect to win. Like, you keep shooting yourself in the foot and then be in situations like, oh, we are getting screwed because of this. Like, yeah, you're getting screwed because of that, but you got 18 turnovers. Like, you're going against a team that normally don't have that many turnovers. I think they had one of 9 or 10 turnovers.
They had 9. They had 9 including overtime. 45
right. And the thing is, like, I mean, that's still a little high for Virginia because they don't turn the ball over. Like, they do a very good job. I think they probably one of the best teams in the country that takes care of the ball.
Right.
And you see that. I mean, obviously it was a veteran team. You see that. They know that. But that's how Virginia always is. Their teams are.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the turnovers, like, we go back to Flip, he get double teamed in the post, turn and make a pass, and he threw it right to Virginia. Like, I mean, a couple times he just threw it right to him.
Yeah, and it's crazy because as a big being trapped, a lot of times the weak side guy is wide open. So when you look over your shoulder, you like looking at, okay, I got a free kind of just a bullet pass.
Yep.
And Virginia did a good job of kind of hiding like they were not there and then kind of boom, pop out.
Yeah.
And I was like, just somebody cut to the basket, take that guy out of it. And then you have a really wide open, backside three. But I think it was almost like it was back-to-back plays where
yes,
he gets the ball, he turns over, and boom, turnover,
right
boom,
to him.
turnover. Yeah, and the guy was like, all right, thank you. Like,
yeah, exactly. Woo.
Hey, you didn't have to move left or right. He's like, boom, all right, let's go. Yeah,
not good.
yeah.
The example of the bad day Flip had, that was was it. Everything went wrong for him. But no, they the offense, listen, they ended up shooting almost 45%, which is above where they normally do. That was good. Hit 9 3-pointers for almost 40% from three for the game, including Grandison.
Yeah.
Grandison,
yes,
is there.
Yes.
That the veteran at the time, whatever it is, if he does it from this point forward like that, if they can get that off the bench from him,
it'd be
huge.
awesome. It'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean, the fact that we had shot 40%. I mean, shoot, Proctor is a 28% shooter, and he hit like back-to-back threes. So like, just guys like that, stepping up in big time moments. We need that more and more. But if we can get more like that from Grandison, that constant, 10, 11 points a game from him off the bench, I think that'd be perfect. That would help out Flip because he stretches the floor a little bit more. You can't really sink down and collapse on Flip. And then it'd be a little bit easier. So those frustrating nights where you have just bodies seem like they're just everywhere around you, it won't be as much. You see, there's a little bit of space right here. I can actually move and spin into this space. And it kind of worked my way, doing things underneath the basket. But the fact that right now Flip things like, everything just are all around him and he just can't get free. And it's frustrating when you're not scoring and he's a 15-point average, guy and had 0 points, zero.
I mean, that's again, Virginia's defense is fantastic. They're the best defensive team in the conference, one of the best in the country every year. So they were keying to stop him, and by God, they did it. And so, but he won't be playing that kind of defense from this point forward until the ACC tournament play Virginia again. But so I expect him to come out of this and play well the next 2 or 3 games. They have Notre Dame on Tuesday at home, then go to Syracuse this weekend against the zone defense. We'll have another podcast to break that down, but that's going to be a challenge. Still have Louisville coming up after that. So there are some wins of they've made it through kind of the toughest part. They got a little bit of a break, as far as ACC goes, you have a little bit of a break before playing State and Carolina at the end. But it's just not going to sit well. It's going to be hard to put it aside that they played well enough to win and got it taken from them, but they're going to have to do it. One other thing I want to bring up about this, I wonder if the NCAA tournament committee, how they will view this game. I mean, they're going to say, no, Virginia won, and they're going to have to, but in the back of their mind, they got to be thinking when they're putting the seeds together, Duke really beat Virginia, right?
Well, you would think that. I mean, like a team like that really, team that's not ranked right now really went after UVA at UVA in a tough environment and was right there to win the game, and unfortunately did not. But yet there's a reason why they did not. It wasn't like on their own actions. It was really something that was out of their control. And for them to sit there and look at that, I hope they don't get screwed again come, that time in March. But the fact that we got to close out the year the right way and go into ACC tournament, that's on us. So we got to make sure we control things that we control. And then everything else outside of that, we can't worry about it until it comes.
That's right. That's the chance. That's the chance that Duke has here going forward, is not to leave it in the committee's hands to whether or not, I mean, I think they're going to make the tournament. That's not a doubt, but where they're going to be seated and all that kind of stuff. If the team can stack together wins from this point forward, that'll take it out of the committee's hands. They'll be like, okay, where they proved, they played well at Virginia and didn't win because of that, but then they backed it up by winning 3 or 4 games in a row to improve the resume and all that kind of stuff. So that's the step that the Blue Devils have to take from this point forward. Okay, well, everybody, listen, thank you for I'm glad we were able to do this, Sheldon. Going to get this out Sunday morning. We're going to get this up and post it, because it was such a
big time
weird
call that wasn't made. Yeah.
Such a weird thing, and everybody I know is curious about what happened and everything. So hope we answer some questions for some people. Appreciate all of our regular listeners. Again, appreciate betonline.ag for sponsoring the Believe and Do podcast. That's it for this edition. Sheldon, let's see what they do going forward, right? That's all they can do from this point forward is try to win some games. That's all they can do right now.
Take care of what's in front of them, and then figure it out after that.
Very good. And we'll be back with another episode later on the week, looking ahead to the Syracuse game. We'll see how the team does against Notre Dame. Thanks for listening, everybody.